In this video, we will discuss the genetics of sickle cell disease. In particular, we will review relevant questions from the Caribbean Examinations Council CSEC Biology exam of May-June 2022, Paper 2, Question 5, and January 2016, Paper 2, Question 5, Part B. Before watching this video, please ensure that you can define the following terms that are commonly used in the study of genetics: gene, allele, homozygous, heterozygous, dominant, recessive, genotype, phenotype, purebred, genetic cross, Punnett square. Before we get into the questions, here is a brief overview of sickle cell disease. Sickle cell disease can be inherited from either parent. This disease is characterized by red blood cells that contain abnormal hemoglobin, which has reduced oxygen carrying capacity. Normally, red blood cells have a biconcave disc shape. In sickle cell disease, red blood cells tend to have an odd shape like a C or a sickle. First, we will review the CSEC Biology May-June 2022 exam, Question 5. The question reads, Ellis received a blood test from his doctor. His results showed that his white blood cell and platelet levels were normal, while his red blood cell levels were not normal. Complete Table 3 below to show one function of each of the blood components. Red blood cells contain hemoglobin for oxygen transport. Oxygen combines with hemoglobin in the blood and is transported from the lungs to the body tissues. Respiration in body tissues releases carbon dioxide into the blood. Hemoglobin in red blood cells can also carry carbon dioxide from body tissues back to the lungs. White blood cells have roles in immunity. They help the body to fight against infections and disease. Lymphocytes are white blood cells that recognize foreign harmful substances or antigens. Lymphocytes produce antibodies that bind and mark specific antigens for destruction. Phagocytes are white blood cells that engulf and kill foreign harmful substances in the body. Platelets are necessary for blood clotting. Clotting helps prevent excessive blood loss from a cut or a wound. Clotting also helps prevent the entry of harmful microorganisms through the wound into the body. Part 2. Name 3 other substances which are found in the blood. Here we've listed a few other substances also found in the blood. Plasma, which is the liquid part of the blood. Hemoglobin. Oxygen. Hormones. Dissolved food substances, for example glucose and amino acids. And waste products, for example urea and carbon dioxide. Ellis received additional tests which revealed that he has sickle cell anemia. Suggest one way in which Ellis's red blood cells may differ from a person who does not have sickle cell anemia. In individuals who do not have sickle cell disease, we note the presence of red blood cells that all have a biconcave disc shape, and this allows them to flow easily through blood vessels. These red blood cells have normal hemoglobin and therefore they have normal oxygen carrying capacity. In persons who have sickle cell disease, red blood cells are shaped like a C or a sickle and cannot flow easily through blood vessels. These abnormally shaped red blood cells have abnormal hemoglobin and therefore have reduced oxygen carrying capacity. Part C. Ellis becomes concerned that his child may also develop sickle cell anemia. His doctor tested his wife's blood and told Ellis that it is unlikely that he will have a child with sickle cell anemia. With the use of a genetic diagram, explain why it is not possible for Ellis to have a child with sickle cell anemia. In your answer, let S denote the allele for the sickle cell trait and A the allele for the normal trait. Let's look at the cross. The question already told us how to define the alleles. S represents the allele for the sickle cell trait, and A represents the allele for normal hemoglobin. Ellis has sickle cell disease, and so he is homozygous for the S allele with genotype SS. The doctor indicated that it is unlikely that any of the couple's children will have sickle cell, which indicates that his wife has normal hemoglobin and is homozygous for the A allele and has genotype AA. Let's draw the cross. First, we add in the alleles for each parent. Then we add in the genotypes for the offspring. The cross shows that 100% of the offspring conceived between Ellis and his wife will have the genotype AS. This means that all of the offspring will be heterozygous carriers of the sickle cell trait, but will not have sickle cell disease. Some points for the explanation are included here. Ellis has a sickle cell anemia, genotype SS, and his wife has normal hemoglobin and is homozygous with genotype AA. An individual with sickle cell anemia inherits the abnormal allele S from both parents and will therefore be homozygous with genotype SS. As shown in the genetic cross, all of the children conceived between Ellis and his wife will be heterozygous with genotype AS. All of their children will carry the sickle cell trait but will not have sickle cell anemia. Next, we will review the CSEC biology exam from January 2016, paper 2, question 5, part B. The question reads, sickle cell anemia is an inherited condition in which the blood of affected persons cannot transport oxygen efficiently. Describe 2 symptoms of sickle cell anemia. Recall that in sickle cell disease, red blood cells have abnormal hemoglobin and therefore reduced oxygen carrying capacity and are sickle-shaped and thus cannot flow easily through blood vessels. Therefore, symptoms of sickle cell disease, especially during periods of crisis, include fatigue, shortness of breath, pain and the swelling of joints, infections, and yellowing of the eyes and skin as symptoms of jaundice. Part 2. Fazul and Shana both carry the sickle cell traits. What is the chance that a child born to them would suffer from sickle cell anemia? Explain your answer with the aid of a genetic diagram. Use the following symbols: A for normal, S for sickle cell. The question again already told us how to define the alleles. S represents the sickle cell trait, and A represents normal hemoglobin, no sickle cell. Fazul and Shana both have the sickle cell traits, and so they are both heterozygous with genotype AS. Let's draw the cross. First, we add in the alleles for both parents. And then we do the cross to determine the genotypes of the offspring. The cross shows that there is a 1 in 4 or 25% chance that Fazul and Shana's offspring will have genotype AA and therefore will have normal hemoglobin. There is a 1 in 2 or 50% chance that their offspring will have genotype AS and therefore carry the sickle cell traits. And to respond to the question asked, there is a 1 in 4 or 25% chance that a child born to Fazul and Shana will have sickle cell disease. In the first question from the May-June 2022 exam, we saw the result of a cross between an individual with sickle cell disease and an individual with normal hemoglobin. In the second question from the January 2016 exam, we saw the result of a cross between two individuals who both carry the sickle cell traits. We will look at two more relevant crosses: the cross between an individual with sickle cell anemia and an individual with the sickle cell traits, and a cross between an individual with the sickle cell traits and an individual with normal hemoglobin. If one parent has a sickle cell anemia, genotype SS, and one parent has the sickle cell traits, genotype AS, first we draw in the alleles for the parents, and then we do the cross to determine the genotypes of the offspring. Here we see that there is a 50% or 1 in 2 chance that the offspring conceived will have genotype AS and thus carry the sickle cell traits. And there is a 1 in 2 or 50% chance that the offspring produced will have the sickle cell disease, genotype SS. If one parent has normal hemoglobin, genotype AA, and the other parent has the sickle cell traits, genotype AS, again we add in our alleles for the parents and do the cross to determine the genotypes of the offspring. Here we see there is a 1 in 2 or 50% chance that the offspring will have normal hemoglobin, genotype AA, and a 1 in 2 or 50% chance that the offspring will be heterozygous carriers of the sickle cell trait, genotype AS. Two things to note here. 1. Sickle cell anemia is not sex-linked, and the sickle cell trait can be inherited from either parent. 2. Individuals who are heterozygous carriers of the sickle cell trait, genotype AS here, have increased resistance to the mosquito-borne disease, malaria. June 19th is recognized as World Sickle Cell Day annually. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.